So, hello everybody. This is Laura with Purple Phoenix Games, and I am here with Jason Tagmire. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you most known for? And yeah.
Okay, I am Jason Tagmire. I'm probably most known for ButtonShy Games, which is a company that I started that makes little tiny. I'm looking for one in my office. Little tiny wallet games. They're pocket-sized games. We have a library of like 60 to 70 now. That's been going monthly since 2014, 15, 16. Somewhere we started doing it monthly around there. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But we're 5, 6 years in to doing these wallet games. I've also designed some stuff, but ButtonShy is my big thing.
Okay. Talking about some of the stuff you've designed, what was the first game you designed? Because I know you've done a couple of the wallet ones, right?
I did some wallet games, and I did some for other companies before that. I did a game called Pixel Lincoln, the deck building game, which was like a little Abraham Lincoln video game, side-scrolling board game.
Nice.
That was awesome. Way back in 2012. A couple games with AEG after that. Maximum Throwdown was one of them. 60 Seconds to Save the World, and then 7 Sevens was a game I did with Eagle Griffin, which they just came out with a sequel to it this year. I mean, it's been like 5 years, but the sequel's finally out.
Oh, nice.
Called Quatorze, which I don't know how to pronounce properly. But my first actual game was one that I self-published in like 2008 or 2009 called Maze Game, and I was way ahead of the solo trend because it was solo only, but it was super terrible. It's just like,
oh my gosh.
Like seriously, you just like align these cards into like a maze and either finished it or didn't. I don't even remember, but that all just came about because I found a place that did print-on-demand cards, like playing cards.
Okay.
So I was like, what can I make to go on these cards? And just started making games for it.
That's cool though.
Yeah, it was like the greatest find of all time when I found it. And they had these terrible boxes that were like a white tuck box, but they couldn't print on them, so they just wrapped paper around them.
Oh, jeez.
So the whole thing was just like really super low budget, and yet really awesome to see at the same time.
Yeah, that's cool to get your game actually printed, and I don't know, it's like it's legit, even if it's
exactly. I would take it to little conventions and stuff, and
that's awesome.
There was nothing else like it at the time, unless you just like hand made it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Finding that company was a big milestone.
No, that's really cool. Yeah. And when did you decide that you wanted to, I guess, start your own publishing company, and like how did ButtonShy come about?
Yeah, like at the very, very beginning, I did it myself. Like I was just getting those made there. And then I was like, I'm going to design some games without the limitations of, no budget and all that kind of stuff. So I designed some games and got them out to a couple publishers. And then after a few years of that, a lot of that, I was getting inside look at what the publishers do and all, because a lot of publishers then and even now, they're very small one-person operations. So as a designer, you would take on roles that you didn't, think you were going to take on.
Yeah.
Like, so you're doing art direction, and all these things that you thought that other people did. So I got a little taste of that, and alongside of that, one of my friends had this really tiny game called Movie Plots, which was just like a little tiny card game about, like prompts to make a movie. So as all this was going, Love Letter was kind of becoming a thing, and I was like, how do you package a tiny game? And we just kind of kept going back and forth on that. So it became like, let's do Movie Plots. Like, you designed it. I've done a couple games here. Let me try to get it out there and have fun with it.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about the design. So it's funny because the first official ButtonShy wallet game wasn't me, where a lot of times you kind of start with yourself and what you know. But it wasn't me at first. It was, I'm going to just focus on, getting this out there. So we kind of figured out the little wallets and how we could package a tiny micro game.
Yeah.
And then, like anything I do, it's like we can't just do one. It has to be one a month forever.
Yeah.
Like
Forever, yeah.
it's kind of like there's a lot of little things with ButtonShy and where it's just like, if we're going to invest the time into this model of a product, it might as well repeat itself. So
Yeah.
like, I see you have the tiny epics in the background, and like,
oh yeah, yep.
like, there's so much work that's already done when they make the next one. Like, you don't have to go through all those box sizes and figure out what fit, and a lot of back and forth with the printer. It's you cut a lot of that out. So figure out the wallets and just went running from there.
I was gonna say, I wouldn't have thought about that from like the actual production standpoint of, it's the same thing. It's just changing what's on the cards.
Yeah, exactly. And it's 18 cards, which is like one sheet of cards for a lot of printers.
Oh, nice.
So with a 54 card game is 3 sheets, or like a deck of playing cards is 3 sheets. So it really came down to like tiny, every little thing we could maximize and minimize and fit in there. Because if we're gonna print 54 cards, we could get 3 games out of it. So it was 3 games, and the wallet just had to change colors and logo.
Yeah.
So it really did become a pattern product of sort.
So is that how you got to the 18 card maximum for all the wallet games, that it was just 18 cards in one sheet?
It was, and back then, like now you can kind of get away with anything that you want to print, but you might get charged for a full sheet or whatever. So it was maximizing what we can fit onto those sheets. But I remember back then, I was very concerned about hitting that number 18 when we printed something, because like you didn't want to spend any extra money you didn't have to, and you didn't want to get blank cards where they So yeah, knowing that and hearing about that 18 being a sheet, it was definitely a driving force. And Love Letter, I don't know how many cards Love Letter was, but Love Letter kind of was the start of everything micro. I feel like Love Letter's like 15 cards. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a small number.
It's just but Love Letter's like a huge game because it comes with these little heart tokens. So to me, that's way too much. But 18 was the thing, and that guided everything, because we could, and these fit 18 really nicely, and you could probably fit like 20 in these, but we've just kept it at 18, so we're not printing like a sheet and then 2 extra cards and kind of messing around with all that.
Yeah. Do you feel like the 18 card limit makes it harder to design some of those wallet games, or is it a fun challenge? Or
it's definitely it's always been a fun challenge, right? It's always been not even a fun challenge, like a creative challenge. So like, how do you squeeze the whole game into 18 cards?
Yeah.
And then like, how do you do that but not make it like the other 50 games we've released and things like that?
Yeah, true. As
a designer, I always want like this little die would make so much more design space with those 18 cards. But like, what can I do without it? So the one time I realized that it was an asset as opposed to a detriment was we did the 18 card challenge, which was like these contests we do almost every month or so, saying make a game with 18 cards, and then we added some extra restriction onto it.
Yeah.
And the one we did was 18 cards, but all 18 cards have to be identical, which was just like
a cool one to see.
Like, what can you design? And we had 229 entries, which was the most we'd ever seen. So it really showed that like, the more you can restrict people, the more they're going to try to tackle this. They're going to try to defeat it, and it's going to encourage cool thoughts. And while so many games like were designed for that just are a half of a game just because of the restriction, some really, really good stuff came out of it. So but if anything, so many of those designers were new designers, had never designed a game before, and it just that incredible restriction got them off their feet to start making games, which was so cool.
Yeah. No, and that's awesome. And I like we follow you guys on Twitter, and seeing all of those interactions and following along with some of those contests is really neat to see, all the creativity that people can come up with.
We just came to the realization tonight that we have we have a new Kickstarter going up tomorrow for our game called Death Valley, but we made a bundle. It was design a game based off of a real life location. So 18 cards, and it was all themed, just something that exists in real life. But we've actually published the top 3 games from that contest, and we have a bundle of those top 3 in the Kickstarter tomorrow, which is nice. We'll like see them together, and it's the 3 finalists and what came out of. If you watch, we had a video of choosing the winner and all, and looking at them with no art and their prototype copies versus today, all 3 are published. It's pretty cool. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, to see the whole process from concept to the final production.
Exactly.
That's really awesome. And I mean, you have a Kickstarter, you said, starting tomorrow.
Yeah, Death Valley. Like I have so much work tonight. It's crazy. Like I still have to make the video, which I'm gonna start after we do this at some point. But it's a press your luck like tableau builder about traveling through Death Valley, and cards are going into your journey or your scrapbook, and scrapbook cards don't move and they stay there for like providing abilities, and and then the other ones are your end game points, but they can go away if you press your luck too hard. And it's a fun one, and we have incredible art on it. It's going to be a cool one. I'm excited to see it go on Kickstarter tomorrow. Excellent. And I'm excited to be done with the Kickstarter.
To just knock that off your list.
It's just like a full overnight, crunch to get them up and running.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No matter what, no matter how much I did before today, I'm still going to be up all night doing it.
Yep. And then once it goes up, you'll finally be able to just take a second and breathe.
I took a nap after the last one went up.
Yeah. You just need that rest.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And I know you release a new wallet game every month. You have your I think it's the board game of the month
club.
Yes, board game of the month club, where you send out those monthly wallet games. Not all of those end up going through Kickstarter, right?
No, because there's a couple reasons for it. Is one, the first is that Kickstarter started to kind of deny our projects once we had too many unfulfilled. So even though we only ever take 4 or 5 months to fulfill them. We were doing them monthly for a while, but once we had 4 or 5 unfulfilled, they denied some, saying, you have to fulfill before you start the next one. And I don't even think we had that many. I think it was only 2 or 3. But it's look, we are going to fulfill them on time. We always fulfill them really close to on time. But it made sense that you don't want to have too many, And we'd always get to the 3rd one and be we're asking people to spend more money on something and they still haven't gotten the last couple. So we reduced it. But we still had our monthly club where we had to give out a game each month. So we found some ways to, sneak some in on different print runs. If something overfunded, we could sneak in another game. Or we did a couple games at a time sometimes. But lately it's just been, the other thing we're adding to that is certain games are really good for Kickstarter and other ones just kind of struggle along. So if we want to do 1,000 of a game and we know it's one that might struggle on Kickstarter, but we know that it'll sell over time for us, we'll just skip the Kickstarter and print it on our own, which is great. It's great that we can do that. The club helps pay for that and makes that possible. But this is one Horios, which was one of those real life location ones.
Oh, yeah.
This one went right to the club.
Nice.
It's actually one that would do okay on Kickstarter, but it's 2-player, a little feisty competitive, which is a little bit of a hard sell sometimes.
Yeah.
And then here's one that's an even harder sell called Adder, that is a real-time table semi-dexterity snake game.
Interesting.
That wouldn't do well on Kickstarter at all, but it'll find its home with us, and so we've never really shown this. It's a clear wallet, which is
I was gonna say that looks so cool.
Pretty cool. But yeah, those are ones that wouldn't do super well on Kickstarter, and it would kind of be a little depressing watching them kind of struggle, and so we'll just release them and let them find their footing. And, sometimes they'll come back around. Like Spaceship is one of our solo games that we've never kickstarted because it was like, I don't even remember why. It's solo only, and it was kind of a rush when we were rushing to get it printed. But it's sold like 3,000 copies so far or something like that, and has 4 expansions and has done really well outside of Kickstarter. So it's cool to see that can happen. That we can do that nowadays. 2 years ago, there was no way. Like 5 years ago, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So games that originally go out for Board Game of the Month, like they eventually end up, people can just buy them on your website and stuff like that.
Usually it's somewhat closer, but our Board Game of the Month has grown a bit, so the numbers are a little tighter. So this one needs to go up on the site. It's been out for about a month to the backers, to the patrons, and it's going to go up tomorrow. But yeah, so they eventually all work their way out. There's nothing really super exclusive other than sometimes they'll get them earlier. But yeah, we try to get those into our rotation, assuming, so they're going to go one of two things. They're either going to sell really well and sell out, and then they continue through our rotation, or they don't sell and are available, So no matter what, people can usually get them.
Just depends on the game. Yeah,
it's a fun little way to test the waters and do some things that are a little more riskier that we couldn't do on Kickstarter.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I know the first Travis had, I think, a couple of your wallet games already, but the first Kickstarter that I found of you guys was Sprawlopolis.
Oh yeah.
And I think that one was a pretty major campaign for you guys, right?
I mean, it was like 10 times bigger than the next below it at the time. That was very, very big, and it was like I had to quit. I quit my job just before that, but I was doing a part-time job because I didn't know if I would, be able to do just this. And then halfway through the Sprawlopolis Kickstarter, I had to quit the part-time job just because I knew like there was no way we would fulfill it ever if I was working at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we did it because it was just me and my wife then, and
oh wow.
I think I had like 1 or 2 people who would come like 1 or 2 nights a week and just help fulfill it, but and it was all in my house. It was incredible. Like just thinking back.
Oh my gosh.
It was our biggest Kickstarter, and it was the least amount of people involved.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So how many people now are like a part of ButtonShy?
We have like 6 or 7 local helpers that all do between 10 to 15 hours a week, all part-time. And then the core of us is me, Michelle is our customer service, but also, and I'd say equally importantly, but even more importantly, she's doing development for us, playtesting, and running our solo network and all kinds of things like that. And then Marty, my brother-in-law, who's one of our artists, is actually like our new mailroom person, and he's doing mailroom stuff and sneaking little sketches into the packages sometimes.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like that's the core group. We've got some remote people that do rules editing, Michael Lee, and other development, like Mike Mullins will help out with stuff like that. But so it's a local crew and a few others, and everybody's a little bit of part-time. But yeah,
it's cool to see like that it's not necessarily like a huge thing right now, but you guys are still able to put out this great content and these awesome games, and yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, it still feels really small because it was like a couple months ago we did the Kickstarter for Agropolis, which was bigger than the original Sprawlopolis by quite a bit. So I said we need to hire more people just for this.
Yeah.
So I think we hired 2 people immediately, and I said this might be temporary. And then we hired 2 more, and I said this might be temporary. And they're all still here, and Agropolis isn't here yet. But it feels like it might not be temporary, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's really nice that it's growing, and Yeah. No, and that's really cool. And what, well, we talked about, why you decided to move into the publishing. How did you pick ButtonShy as your name?
So it was another budget conscious decision. I used to run a company that made like buttons, like little pinback buttons for bands,
Okay.
and it was called Button Shy. And this was like 20 years ago, maybe 21 years ago now.
Hmm.
And uh, I had the website buttonshy.com and the logo, and I paid $45 for that logo, and then I stopped doing it when I had kids, and I had to get a real job and health insurance
Hmm.
and things like that for a while. And then like 5, 6 years later, I was making games, but putting them as buttonshy.com slash whatever name I would come up with,
Hmm.
because the domain was Buttonshy, and I kept going back and forth, like, what should our name be for making games? And I'm like, well, we're using this website anyway. It's a waste not to use it. And we've got
Hmm.
this logo, and it's a waste not to use it.
Yeah.
So we just moved it over, and like 2 people know. Um, it was like one guy, I ordered a song for Circle the Wagons for Kickstarter, and it was one of my
Hmm.
favorite bands. The Get Up Kids, their singer was doing songs that you could, you know, buy a song for like your
Hmm.
significant other or whatever. And
Yeah.
I was like, I want to buy a song for this game that's coming out. Like your style fits it. And the guy that ran the site was like, Button Shy, you used to make our buttons for our band. And he's just like, how you're making games now? And I was like, you're the only person who will ever know this.
Yeah. No, that's
So,
really cool though.
but yeah, it was buttons, and it was such a good logo, and the name it was just a nonsense name at the time. It was like, all right, we're making
Mhm.
buttons. What are we like? I'm shy, button
Yeah.
shy. And then it sort of had this, like, when it came over to making games, it was like, oh, it's kind of like the anti-video game. You're
Hmm.
shy of buttons.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just a name and a logo.
Hmm.
It just means cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
it does mean cool stuff.
yeah, that's what I go with.
I always was like, oh, it's because they make the wallet games. They're small, like buttons.
Yeah. And now we started making buttons again, which is like a
Oh,
little
cool.
full circle.
Make
Just
button shy buttons.
yeah.
Like full circle there.
Got something over
Oh,
there.
nice. Excellent. Um, but yeah, I guess what for you is the most difficult aspect of being a publisher?
um, so a lot of publishers, there's so many roles to it, and it's really hard when you're a small publisher,
Hmm.
because there's like this hurdle where it's going to take more time than you can do, and it's not going to give you any money to quit your day job or anything.
Hmm.
So it's kind of getting through that, to from where you take it from a hobby to a career. And that's a point where a lot of people break, because they are going to run out of time, they're going to run out of energy. The
Hmm.
ones who I see succeed the most with it are the ones who don't need any income. Like their husband or wife will,
Hmm.
have a great job that covers enough for them
Yeah.
to pursue their dreams. And if you don't have that opportunity, it's super, super difficult to
Hmm.
break past that point of of taking it from a hobby to anything serious. And
Hmm.
there were so many points where I was just like, I can't put in any more hours a week. So this either has to really break and become something, great,
Hmm.
or I just have to stop, or I
Yeah.
just have to go down to just, we're going to just do this for fun.
Hmm.
And that fun becomes work at some point, and it's
Yeah.
very, very hard to do it. So we don't have a great, like, hobby designer slash publisher thing in the US like they do in Japan. If you look at their like game market, it's people that bring their game that they hand assembled and brought, and they make 100
Hmm.
copies and they sell it. Here, a lot of that's kind of looked down upon. We want the bigger, glossier, fancier games.
Hmm.
So when like you're a small publisher and you want to put your game in a box and you want to make like 300 copies, that
Yeah.
box is going to cost like $5, $10 just for the box. So
Yeah.
like you've priced yourself out of it,
Hmm.
because by the time you are done everything and it costs you $25 to make this game that might be on the shelves on the shelf for 30.
Mhm.
Like there's no profit margin. There's no way
Yeah.
for you to succeed monetarily. And your $25 one is going to look like a homemade version of the thing that's on the shelf for 30
Mhm.
and be really looked down upon. So we're so lucky that the wallets like broke that barrier and
Mhm.
work, because other options are just like really cheap looking boxes that
Yeah.
nobody nobody will take seriously. And
Mhm.
I love those games that are in weird boxes
Yeah.
personally. So like I have some like homemade games that I adore that, but it doesn't fly. And like
Mhm.
I think it's the hardest thing as a small publisher is to compete with the big guns. And yeah, and it took us a long
Mhm.
time to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess well, I've never really thought about publishing stuff, but yeah, the box itself costs money, and to,
Like
make all these elements and components for games.
we bought these
It
boxes just to put wallets in, and they're just these little. I wish I had one here, but they're just little square boxes that say ButtonShy,
Mhm.
and they're probably about the size of like two tiny epics on top of each other,
Mhm.
and they cost me like $8 to $10 just for the box.
Oh
And
geez.
it was like, if that was filled with cards, it would definitely be like a $30 game. And you're supposed
Mhm.
to, like, the business rule is sell it for 5 times what you paid. So
Mhm.
just the box, I need to sell for $50.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
geez.
we don't have anything in it yet.
Mhm.
It's just so difficult. It's
Yeah.
so difficult.
Mhm. And I really like the wallet concept, and that you can just pick it up, throw it in your pocket, take it anywhere. And I know one of the games that we played a few times when we could have some of our game nights, before all of this, Travis had Pretense,
Oh yeah,
I think it
that
was.
was I
And
designed Pretense too.
yeah, like the meta game within the game
Yeah,
night. And no, that was a lot of fun. And, that's just one that it's just you have your card, and
yeah,
then you're
exactly.
playing all night.
That was really early in our lineup too, and it was a cool concept of just a game night meta game. And
Hmm.
when I designed from the design side, it was like, how do you make a game that you play along with other games? Like,
Hmm.
it's always like a lot of designers kind of toss that around. How can you make a game that you play
Yeah.
during games? So that was the whole thing where that,
Hmm.
that came from, and that wound up doing really well. The Kickstarter was huge at the time. It was like 1,300 backers or something, which was incredible
Hmm.
for us. And then AEG picked it up and released it in a box, which was cool.
Yeah.
And then it won the Philly Geek Awards Game of the Year,
Oh,
which
nice.
was just like really cool too. you
Hmm.
know. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, that game took off, and it's a hard sell nowadays because, well, especially with getting together,
Hmm. Yeah.
that's hard. Um, but yeah, it's kind of a fun little side thing that you can do while playing
Hmm.
other games.
Yeah. No, and that one's really cool. And yeah. Was that so? You said that was pretty early on in the Button
That
Shy
was our
days?
like second game, I think, maybe our
Okay.
third game. We kickstarted a movie. No, oh my god, I can't think the numbers now. It's either like second or sixth. I can't remember which one.
Oh, okay. Close enough.
It was
Two
definitely
or three.
early in there,
Hmm.
where I think I had to. We didn't have a lot of designers at the time, and it was all just friends. It was really just
Hmm.
like it was the local Philly guy who lives near me who did movie plots. Jay
Hmm.
Treat was a Philly guy that did Cunning Folk, and then Kenneth Thompson was one of our playtesters who designed our game Fever Chill. Like all those really early games were all local people. And
Hmm.
then Wildcats was one of our early ones. It was me and my brother-in-law Marty, who now does shipping for us.
Yeah.
So it was just like it was the local crew and who we playtested with, and
Hmm.
it's funny how it all started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you design a game, what comes first for you? The theme, mechanics,
So
both,
I do.
neither?
I've done both, and I love to just kind of give restrictions. So I did a podcast for a while called Design Diary, where I took the word of the day in the dictionary and then tried to design based off of the word of the day. So the word of the day might be like ridicule, and that's just the word of the day. And I wouldn't try to make a whole game, but I'd try to just see like what comes out of ridicule. Ridicule is like a, person-to-person conflict where the other person might know it, but they might not be part of it. It might be a secret way of doing it. So I try to think of mechanics that worked with that. For a while, we got stuck on like, how could it be a turn order mechanic? Like, going really fine-tuned. Like, what does ridicule mean for turn order? What does it mean for a tiebreaker? And just really diving into that to see what that inspires. And it would often just be some cool new mechanics that I'd write down or things like that. But sometimes it would blossom into more of a game. And one of them actually became a tiny little ButtonShy game once. So like, I like that restriction, or just saying, you've got 5 cards, a die, and 3 tokens. Like, what can you do? And usually that's not the end result. The game usually expands beyond that, but it's a cool way to start designing.
Yeah.
And then other times it'll simply just be a theme, or a phrase or things like that. Or a lot of people say feeling. They're, I want a game that invokes fear, So I've done things like that, or just like tones, and so it's a little bit of everything, and whatever's kind of inspiring at the moment.
And then it just takes you and you go with it.
Yeah, or it sits in my notebook and you come back to it.
No, and that's cool though. How many? Well, you probably don't have an exact number. Like, how many games do you feel like you've like written down ideas and then gone away from and then come back? And it's probably there's like so constant.
Many. Yeah, there used to be so many more. Like, I just don't have any time, and it's terrible. Like, if anybody wants to publish, like designers want to publish, just expect to not be designing anymore, because it zaps up all your time. And it's not even in a terrible way, because I get to do design work in other people's games by tinkering in them and development and things like that. But it used to be I'd have like 25 in a list, and like, which one do you want to go to? Like, which one? And they're just ideas, and they're never a whole game, or not even close to it. Sometimes it's just, and like, it's funny because I have one that I'm working on now that has been in that list since like 2012. And it's been like, we constantly want to go back to it. And so me and my brother are doing some co-designing, and we've got 5 or 6 games already that we're just, chipping away with, and whatever happens, happens. But that's 5 or 6 right there in just that little circle. I worked with Jason Greeno. We designed a couple games together. We've got ones in the back end, and then my personal ones. So that list is huge, and nothing ever like comes off of it, I guess. Like, it only comes off if it's been published. You never really trash anything. So it's constantly growing, and it's fun to go back to that old stuff sometimes too. Some of it is salvageable, and some of it's just
it's just like, what was I thinking?
I pitched to some people at one point, like, we should make a website where people just give up their designs to like public domain. Like, this has been in my notebook for 10 years, and nobody's gonna ever, I can't do anything with it, and maybe someone with a fresh take, and like, the only thing is you get like a credit of like inspired by or something like that. Just washing your hands of it. And designers are like, no, I will never ever give my stuff up. It's like, I said the same thing, but it's been years, and they're just still sitting there, and they're not getting any better. So
you're just like, keep them under lock and key. You're like, no, these are mine. I'll figure it out eventually.
Like a design hoarder. Not doing me any good.
Well, there are worse things you could be hoarding, so.
Sure. Exactly. It's free, I guess.
What is something that you wish you could tell a younger version of yourself just starting up in publishing and designing and this whole gaming industry?
Yeah, so I think about like, and it's even before gaming. Like, I've played in bands and would release like records and stuff like that, where we would print them ourselves, and imagined like a run of 1,000 of a CD being like unfathomable, like how we get rid of 1,000 of them, and we're gonna be stuck with these for life. And some of the bands I played in, released some records and stuff, and they're still like stuck with them for life. And I think about that from a production side, that now, like, we release 1,000 copies of a game every single month, and some games even more than that. Some games have sold through that 1,000 5-6 times over. So just to be able to tell myself that, like, people are going to buy these, people are going to play them, people are going to share their plays of them, and they're going to do that without me asking for it. That's kind of the biggest thing, is without asking for it. Like, you don't think that day is ever going to come. You have the, like, early Kickstarters, it's constantly like begging people to share it. Here's my game, please share it, because if you don't share it, nobody's going to know about this, and nobody's going to back it and all. And when you have that break from begging people to share it to just like letting people share it if they want to, is it's the best. Like, I don't think there's anything better to where people do your work for you. They do the begging for you because they want to see it happen. It'd be like that change from, at one point it was just your friends backing it, and it was like they're not going to play it, they back it because they feel bad for you or they want to help you, like, but they're not, like, they don't want the game, they just want to help you. The day where that doesn't, you don't have to ask them or your family members, like you don't have to ask your family members to support your game anymore. It's like, knowing that would ever happen, because the whole way it feels like it's never going to change. So knowing that's going to come is a big one that I would tell myself that it's going to come. Yeah.
Just let it happen. It'll get there. Strangers will back your projects.
They'll talk about it without you asking.
Yes. No, and that's an interesting thing, that, especially, I mean, we're at Purple Phoenix Games, we're still relatively new reviewers, content creators and stuff like that. So I totally can see that from our perspective too, that we're like, we want to review these games and stuff like that, and just getting your name out there. And now it's like, we just have to kind of go with the flow, and when it happens, it'll happen, sort of thing. And so that's cool. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, you have your Kickstarter starting tomorrow. Are there anything else coming down the pipeline that you can talk about, or kind of on the DL right now?
So we're at like a weird point of, like, we have games signed, but half of them don't have names because they're just in development, and like, I've just been so busy that that's an aspect that needs to catch up quickly. But the next one of the cool ones that we can announce is Scott Alms is doing our Simply Solo series. We did Food Chain Island, and we did Ugly Griffin Inn. And the next one is called Unsurmountable, and it's a mountain climbing solo game where you're kind of building the mountain and twisting it all around and just trying to get a path from the bottom to the top. And that one's coming soon. Its art has another couple months left of artwork, but it's all through testing, and we're starting to share stuff. So that's one that has a name and a logo and all that kind of stuff. Everything else is just kind of falling behind. We even have the next game with Scott that's sitting without a without a name and a theme and all that stuff. But there's Rove is one we haven't really announced yet, but it's another solo only, because with COVID we just put all the multiplayer games on hold. And went with the low player counts. So Rove is it's like a Mars rover, like a cute little Mars rover. Solo game. You're trying to complete these puzzly missions. It's Dustin Dobson, who we did Skulls of Sedlick with, and Milan. I'm not going to try to pronounce his other name. Well, I will. Zivkovic. It's like that.
Something like that.
Milan Z. They co-designed it together, and that one we're gonna do something a little different, where, and I'll be one of those people reaching out to you to see if you want a review copy. But it's going to go. It's not going to be Kickstarter, and it's not going to be like our little secret sneak out to Board Game Month Club. We're just going to release it direct on our website
Okay.
but do the whole Kickstarter treatment where we're going to make all the fancy videos and do all this stuff
Mhm.
like and get reviews like it was a big Kickstarter, but
Mhm.
try it outside of Kickstarter just to have another avenue
Mhm.
of it's kind of like the Stonemaier approach. Sometimes they'll do that. We printed
Yeah.
this game, it's ready for sale today, you know.
Yeah.
So we're going to try something like that just to see what something different might do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we would definitely review that. Uh, but yeah, just to see, how not the Kickstarter approach goes, and just
Yeah. I mean, it used
directly
to
through the
be
website.
like Kickstarter is so powerful because it has
Mhm.
the ticking clock that keeps people going. I have to get this before it's over.
Mhm.
It has social tools where if you back it, it emails everybody that you know that follows you and
Mhm.
says they backed this
Yep.
game. So I used to say that a game that was not on Kickstarter would sell 1/10 at most of if we sold it direct.
Mhm.
And that's changed because we use Kickstarter to push our direct games. Like we just say,
Mhm.
here's a game that you didn't know about. You can also buy this, and we
Yeah.
get that wave of the Kickstarter people to find out about those other games.
Mhm.
But it is scary. You release something and it doesn't have everything that Kickstarter offers for their
Yeah.
10% that they take. It's very powerful.
Mhm.
So we're gonna try this one, but give it that same treatment
Mhm.
like it was a Kickstarter. And the only thing it doesn't have is those tools, but we're going to try to simulate them in every way we can.
Mhm.
Just see
Yeah.
what else is out there. Because if Kickstarter were to deny us some campaigns and stuff, it would
Mhm.
it would cripple us. Like when
Yeah.
they first said that we couldn't do another campaign, I was like in tears because it was like after I
Yeah.
just quit my job
Oh,
and
yeah. Like
I
this is what
I
we need.
didn't know how else I could release a game because like we didn't have
Mhm.
the funds and I was just like I don't know what else to do. Like what is like Indiegogo like for games? And
Mhm.
it's the answer is it's terrible. Like there's
Yeah.
just it's all it is the sales tool, but not the social tools and all the other
Mhm.
stuff Kickstarter offers. So
Yeah.
then it was just like, what's the difference if we just put it on our website? And
Mhm.
so Kickstarter is very good and but it's scary because they
Mhm.
hold all the cards in it, and if
Yeah.
something goes wrong or something goes poorly, there is no other options. And now GameFound is
Mhm.
another option, but
Mhm.
we're gonna just try it ourselves and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Cool. And I guess kind of along those lines with putting the word out there yourself, how do you feel like your social media accounts have helped with like the exposure of ButtonShy?
So I think they're very important because it was mostly that on Twitter we got involved with a lot of people in the industry. So when you have the support of other people in the industry behind you,
Hmm.
it goes a long way in validating you to the people who are not in the industry that might follow
Hmm.
you in the future or not.
Yeah.
But for the past like 2 years, I've pushed almost everything to Discord. And it's like it's weird because Discord is very like it's internal and it's only your people.
Hmm.
Uh, but we've been actively trying to grow that and make it more than our people. So
Hmm.
it's a cool like it's sort of social media. It's sort of just like a chat room, but
Hmm.
we have a lot of people on our Discord. It's super active all day long, all night
Yeah.
long, and it sort of serves that purpose for everything. Like I've been sharing stuff for this Kickstarter for tomorrow on there,
Hmm.
and it's a great way to like just engage with the people who are interested
Hmm.
in a very direct way that I've preferred more than any other social media.
Hmm.
And our other ones have suffered since. Oh, just come to Discord. Everything's
Yeah.
much easier. But I love the way that like sharing photos on Instagram. That's
Hmm.
just such an awesome way of showing content.
Hmm.
Uh, and like Twitter and Facebook, I posted on today for the first time in ages because like I just don't use it.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me
Hmm.
try a Facebook ad. We've never really done one in a
Hmm.
long time. And it seems like it's doing all right, but I haven't gone back on to like answer questions and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. It's just like I hate it.
Yeah.
Uh, but like yeah, it's one of those things where I do get a little concerned now that I spend all my time at Discord,
Mhm.
And then the other ones are just kind of like, hey, we got this new game coming out. Bye, we're going back to Discord. And
Oh yeah. It's
yeah,
a balance between all of them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it feels like, every day, that's exaggeration, there's like a new platform out there, a new
Oh, yeah.
social media.
It's that
And
one
it's
I
like,
just signed
oh,
up for. Clubhouse. Do you have Clubhouse?
no.
It's like live audio chat. Like it's just
Oh,
always audio chats and
interesting.
like this discussion we could be talking on there, and then other people can jump into it. And it's kind of like it's like LinkedIn meets podcasting. I don't even know. Like
Okay.
I'm so afraid. Like I clicked on an audio chat and I was like, I think they can hear me, and I said it out loud, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if they can hear me. So I haven't
Yeah, and
gone
then
back to it.
people will be
It's
like,
also
yes, we can hear you.
yeah, it's also invite only, which is like,
Okay.
now I want to be in there. I don't,
Mhm. Yeah.
Getcha.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's like there's so much to keep up with, so many different
Yeah.
platforms and accounts, and it's like, do you have an account for all of them and, spread your time between them, or do you really focus on a few
Or
and
do you get one of those apps that post the same thing to all of them, and then it feels
ooh,
kind
oh
of like,
yeah.
and I don't know if like, if the content is right for all of them, because I think the people who do
Mhm.
best are the ones who apply to the right, you want the right
Yeah.
kind of content for each.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
it's so tricky. And then I feel like I'm repeating myself to the same people.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird.
Yeah. It's finding that delicate balance between what works for which platform.
Yeah, exactly. And how to be active on all of them, because
Mhm.
if you're just saying here's my stuff, come buy it, you start to lose
Mhm.
people. Like it gets
Yeah.
old. They want
Yeah.
content that's engaging and
Hmm.
interesting, and
Yeah.
that's hard to do on all of them.
Hmm. Yeah, and to get like a dialogue going and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I guess you mentioned your Discord. I know you have your social media platforms. What is another way that people could get a hold of you if they wanted to?
So yeah, Discord's impossible to find. I try to find other people's Discords and I have no idea. But like Twitter's awesome. I love Twitter. I said one time I would be very upset if something ever happened to Twitter. Like
Uh-huh.
feel very attached to it. But yeah, Twitter, ButtonShy on Twitter, is probably the best one. Um, Instagram. Our website has customer service stuff on there, buttonshygames.com, and that goes right to our Michelle, who handles everything wonderfully. So,
Hmm.
if anyone needs to get in touch with us outside of, you know, kind of social media stuff,
Hmm.
that's the best way. There's
Yeah.
links right on the website.
Yeah. And like, I guess, is your website the best place to purchase all of your games? And
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Or Kickstarter or Patreon, any of those. But
okay.
we do a little bit of store sales, but it's mostly just get them directly from us because
Hmm.
there's so many of them. They come out new ones all the time.
Yeah.
They're not they're hand assembled, so they cost us a lot of money. So when you sell
Hmm.
them to a store for half price, it's
Yeah.
really just cutting anything that you would actually make off of them.
Hmm.
Um, and then the cool thing is, like, most people just buy a couple of them because you get free shipping if you bundle them
Hmm.
together.
Yeah.
So that's the best place, our website.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll put the link to your website and stuff like that with this video and yeah, well, thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention or talk about, but
No,
I
that's good. This is great. It's really cool to
yeah,
talk.
yeah, I enjoyed it, and uh, yeah, we'll keep talking. We'll review more of your games, and yeah, so thank you, and we'll talk to you later.